Hi, it's Stephen Kramer again. I'm here to talk to you about societal changes, put them in context, help us with concepts, and maybe come up with some concrete actions. Today's particular change I want to talk about is what do we do to get out of the COVID crisis? Now, I firmly want to emphasize that what has been done to slow down the virus is essential. Anybody who's heard the heartrending stories coming out of New York City and New Jersey know that the deaths that are going on, the hospitalizations, are just flooding the hospitals. And putting the brakes on that by shutting down, locking down, quarantining everybody seemed to be the only way at that time to get things under control. I support it. I've been stuck in this home office working from here for over a month. My last day at work was March 13th, except I get to work every day from here. The question is not whether it was the right thing to do, in my mind. The question is, where do we go from here? And so I want to engage in a conversation with you. What's our exit strategies? Or more properly, what is the processes we can go through to get out of the COVID situation, as we are now in the COVID lockdown, and get into life more or less as we knew it? So here are some possibilities I want to brainstorm with you. The first one is the vaccine. It's going to happen. I remember when they came up with the flu vaccine. It was quite the accomplishment. And now we're taking it regularly. They're much, much faster. They have much better methods to get right at it. I am certain that they'll have a vaccine within 12 to 18 months. They'll push it as hard as they can. That's still 12 to 18 months away. And I'm not sure that all of us want to be in an office, no matter how nice it is. The next thing, what about treatments? I am awfully confident that American researchers and doctors and those around the world will come up with ways to save people's lives, because that's what they do, and they're darn good at it. I actually see these things have a horizon of much quicker than 12 to 18 months. Honestly, we've only been hacking at it for like 3 or 4 months. These doctors and researchers will come up with ways to shut down that cytokine storm, to help people and their immune system to work properly. And I'm sure they'll come up with a variety of treatments. I can see them appearing. I'm sure we're seeing some of the first ones even now, and I don't know about them. I think that for them to be truly tested and get through the healthcare system, it's going to take months. Let's say 3 at the minimum. 6, 9 months. So maybe before the vaccine, but not much before. So neither one of those is a short-term exit process or strategy. We need them, and we need to work on them, at least in my mind. I don't know what you're thinking, but at least in my mind, they need to be top priority. So what do we do? What about the South Korea approach? You know, in South Korea, they tested. They tested and tested. Interestingly enough, I saw a statistic today that they've only tested about the same percentage of population that we did. They just tested them earlier. They had the tests and prepared the tests because of their experience with the SARS and their concern about previous pandemics that happened in Asia. So they had been ready and started stockpiling tests and testing kits when they first learned and first were able to get the proper genetic material. So they've tested 1 million people, but what they've also done is tracked them. Anybody who has had contact or might have had contact, they track. You have to have an app that shows that you've been in contact, and if you've been in contact or possible contact, all of a sudden your motions are restricted. You're a possible carrier. So they identify possible carriers. It's kind of like the flu. The flu is actually infectious after you've had the symptoms. And so you got the symptoms, you're a possible carrier. You know that, hey, I don't want to go to work and make everybody sick. The problem with COVID is that you don't know you're a possible carrier until after after you've already infected everybody because you're asymptomatic. You don't have symptoms. So, golly, they have a way to help identify you as possibly a carrier before you know it. And that's with tracking. They test and track. They do a great job of it. Look at their infection rate. Look at their success rate. They're doing a great job. So that's a possible way out. That will take a lot of testing. And right now I understand we're maxed out at about 150,000 tests per day, which sounds like a lot. But when you're talking about 300 million people, yeah, we could do better or need to do better. And then tracking, to get the software, have people allow their phones to be used to track, that's going to take a day or two, maybe a week or two. But I can see all this happening if people put their minds to it within a few weeks to a month or two. Yeah, because, look, my phone already tracks me. It knows where I'm at. It tells me every month all the places I visited. It's been getting rather boring recently. But previously, it had me tracked to Florida to Massachusetts. Anyway, so those are 3 ways out. There's a 4th and maybe 5th or 6th way. The 4th way is something that we're implementing now, but need to implement more firmly, I think, or could implement more firmly. And that is to really quarantine those with preliminary or pre-existing conditions that indicate that they could get seriously ill. Now, that's a lot of people. You look at the obesity rate in the United States, you look at the diabetes rate, the heart disease rate, that's a lot of people. But it's still not 100%. And we may be talking about a third, maybe more than that. But still, that means half of the United States could still go about their business, which is more than what's going on now. The challenge is though those people with pre-existing conditions truly have to be quarantined. They can't be pretend quarantined. They can't just quarantine themselves, but everybody in contact with them has to be cleared and cleaned. Now, how do you clear and clean everybody who's going to be in contact with them? Well, one, you could test and track them, going back to scenario number 3. Now, that wouldn't be as many people as you need to do if you're going to do it for everybody. You would just test and track those people who are caregivers and people who are facilitators and aides for those people who are in those classes of people who have pre-existing conditions. The other thing you could do is you could recruit those who have had the disease. Test for those who have the antibodies, who may have been asymptomatic, and golly, they become the caregivers for these people who are in the protected classes, the people who need to be quarantined. So we rope or segregate these people off. Now, that's not really what we like to do in America, but we're protecting or helping them protect their own lives. And we have to do this in a way, maybe not force them to do it, but certainly make sure they're aware that every time they go out into society until we get scenario 1 or 2 in place, that they're risking their lives. And not only risking their lives, but risking the lives of everybody who comes in contact with them, who has to treat them. Are there other scenarios? I'm curious. What are your ideas? What are other ways to exit out of this COVID lockdown gracefully? What can we do as individuals and as a society to be able to get everybody back working and enjoying and playing and preparing for the next event, whatever it might be, and the changes are going to come? What can we do now? I'm curious. If you have any ideas, put a comment. Send me a note. Thank you for listening. Have a great one.